Well, I have been streaming for 20 hours over the past couple of days, and I feel exhausted still, as I'm sure a lot of you are. There's probably been a lot of y'all out there paying attention to weather coverage for the past few days, trying to check in on the latest. And man, it's been a doozy. We had blizzards in the north, we had tornadoes in the south, some big damage, and also had very strong winds up the side of the coast, which are still ongoing, expecting power outages to increase up the east coast going into the nighttime hour. But man, it's been a doozy, that's for sure. We do have some updates on the severe weather and everything else that has happened out there. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Boy, it's kind of unfortunately it's on my camera here, position kind of weird. I don't know why they put this on the left side, but we do have some hail and tornado reports. We had 10 tornadoes on the 8th here, and then we had 52 wind reports, 23 hail reports with 85 total. And then going into the next day here, you can see we had 15 tornado reports so far. Most of them down here near Florida, some in Georgia, one up there in South Carolina. Might be a couple more confirmed. Maybe this goes down or up as they do a little bit more investigation, but total reports overall 354. I mean, just look at that wide swath there of damaging winds. Coming over to the snowfall totals, the non-mountainous record from this event was University Heights, Iowa, with 15.1 inches of snow on the ground. That's right here. And yeah, we have a big wide swath here of 5 to 7 inches with a little isolated spot up to 10 to 15 inches. Looks like the models handled this storm pretty well. Pretty impactful event. Power outages had 19,000 without power there in Florida, 28,000 power without power. Jeez, my brain is not connecting to my mouth right now. But over here near Georgia, 28,000 people without power, 23,000 people without power in South Carolina, North Carolina 76, Virginia 49, Maryland 33, Delaware 14, Pennsylvania has 144,000 without power. That's quite a lot. New York has 182 without power, Jersey 98, Ohio 12, and Michigan 31. But yeah, big warning though, this next storm is going to feel like deja vu. It's quite an interesting storm or set of storms that we have had here. This first one is exiting the country, but look at this next storm that comes in over here down in Kansas, going into Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. Sound familiar? Up there in Michigan. Oh, look at that! A little quick burst of snow over here for the Northeast as that moves into Pennsylvania and New York and Maine, and then big rain on the backside. It's like almost we've seen this storm before. It really looks familiar. All right, starting off with the timing of this storm at 6 p.m. On the 11th here, you can see got snow that's going to be starting. It's going to be moderate to heavy here in Kansas, going into Nebraska, here for Iowa and Missouri as well. Pushing this to 9 p.m. You can see that starts to push into Iowa and Missouri, into 3 a.m. here for Illinois and Wisconsin. Start to see some heavier snow, pretty heavy snow here, up here near Bloomington in Illinois, and over there near Milwaukee as well. Then that moves into Chicago, northern Indiana. Then another round comes on the backside, very similar to this last storm at around 6 p.m. on the 12th. Then moving over here to the northeast, you can see that going to have another heavy band of snow followed by rain again here starting at 6 p.m. And that moves into New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire by 12 a.m. And then that moves up into Maine on the 13th in the morning hours. And then that moves out of the country there by around 6 p.m. with some lingering snow on the backside. Looking at the snowfall totals here, starting over from the west going to the east, got about 4 to 5 inches in a pretty large strip here coming for Nebraska, northern Kansas, northern Missouri, southern Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Then it start to get some isolated higher amounts as we get into northern Indiana, 5 to 8 inches possible there. And then in southern Michigan also 5 to 8 inches is going to be possible there as well. And then 5 to 8 inches over here near western Michigan here, in a large swath here around Traverse City, going into like Gaylord area, and then 4 to 5 inches really everywhere else around the Detroit area as well. Coming over to Pennsylvania and New York, got a strip here of 4 to 5 inches in the higher elevations, mainly in this little Appalachian Mountain region, and then maybe a little bit of lake effect snow here, 4 to 5 inches with some isolated spots, maybe even getting up into 6 inches there. And then same thing, lake effect over here near New York, south of Kingston there, around 11, 12 inches there and everywhere around it. We have 4 to 5 inches on the lower elevations there. Then up here in Maine in the mountains, foot of snow is going to be possible, most likely 8 to 9 inches for most of the regions in the higher elevations and around that lower elevations, 4 to 5 inches in this blue color. All right, starting off with the severe risks now. We have a slight risk over here. 4 parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, going into Texas here. Main risks with this is going to be tornadoes here, hail, and damaging winds. A 5% tornado risk, so there's a chance for tornadoes, lower, but still there for the briefer and weaker types of tornadoes. Really not expecting this to change too much there. And some cities include Little Rock, Jackson, Shreveport. We have 2% around that for southern Louisiana. Still parts of western Mississippi, northern Arkansas, going into Oklahoma and Texas there. Then we have damaging winds. It's going to be possible here, 15% for 60 and above. Down here for Little Rock, Jackson, Shreveport, and Tyler. Then we got a 5% around that. Then the hail risk, we have a little 15% strip here near Little Rock going through Shreveport and Tyler. And then we have a 5% around that. All right, looking at day 4, it will be day 3 by the time we get here. It also could be upgraded. I do think that an enhanced risk with this day could come. It's not 100% certain. Some of the models disagree.
Hey there, future me here. A little bit of an update on the risk for the day 3 risk that just came out. It was not out at the time of recording, but it's now out. And as you can see here, we do have an enhanced risk that extends from Georgia, Alabama, up into South Carolina and North Carolina, with the slight risk being pretty much in the same area, but we also got a marginal risk that extends all the way up into Kentucky, surprisingly. So big update there. Also, marginal risk also extends down into Central Florida as well. Back to the video.
All right, now looking at the timing of the storms, you can see that these storms are estimated to get started here probably a little bit before 3 a.m. On the 12th. And as you can see, you got those storms firing at around Tyler, Texas, and that's going to move into Arkansas and Louisiana by 6 a.m., into Mississippi by 9 a.m., and then pushing into Alabama by lunchtime, 12 p.m., Georgia by 3 p.m., South Carolina and North Carolina moving into Virginia by 6 p.m., and then it'll exit out of the coast by around 9 p.m. Pulling in this all the way back here, and then talking about some of the kinematics that are going to be available for this storm, at least on the beginning here, on the morning of the 12th. The instability isn't going to be as high, but there are going to be some spots just barely nosing into that 1,000 joules per kilogram there. So we are going to have enough fuel for the storms. Looking at the upper levels of the atmosphere, you can see we have plenty of spin in the atmosphere here in the lower and the upper levels there for this day. So tornadoes are definitely going to be a risk, large hail and damaging winds as well. So again, if you live in the slight risk region, definitely be weather aware. In the marginal, be weather aware, but it's nothing to lose sleep over. All right, let's go ahead and come back over to the instability and kind of move that through just to show you guys how this is going to progress. You can see that those storms are going to move into Mississippi, and then as they move into Alabama, we get an increase of the fuel for these storms. So the storm's going to be more energized down here near the coast up to Montgomery there, going through Dothan, Tallahassee. Still got those elevated fuel amounts moving into the East Coast as well. And then as that moves through, doesn't look like there's as much fuel there in southern Florida. So it looks like it's going to be mainly isolated up in the northern Florida area. So that's one difference between this storm and the last storm, is that it's not really going to be as much of a problem for like Orlando, Tampa, Port St. Lucie, and those areas. But yeah, definitely enough fuel there going into the late nights parts of the 12th there, and then kind of coming back here and looking at the kinematics going later in the day. You can see a lot more lower level shear when we get that increase of fuel, and then a lot more upper level shear as well, and a little bit of a negative tilt to a neutral tilt with this trough. So definitely going to be a dangerous day out there with all the kinematics in place for some dangerous severe weather in areas that were pretty much just impacted by severe weather. So it's going to feel like deja vu with this storm, and you guys are definitely going to want to be weather aware on tomorrow and the next day. Last thing I want to talk about here before we end the forecast is after we have this second storm and third storm move in, you can see that we're going to have maybe a significant intrusion here of colder air make its way into the United United States with potentially widespread negative degree temperatures. It can make it down as far down as, Missouri, going potentially into the southeast as well, but we'll have to wait. They'll probably be in the teens, though, not in the negatives there. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Is this going to be like, a couple years ago, we had a big old Arctic blast and, everybody's pipes burst and it was a big ordeal. And, we had a big freeze in Texas too. And, it was just total pandemonium as the power outages were everywhere. The electricity grid failed. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a little bit more mild than that, but still impactful. So something that you're definitely going to need to pay attention to as we get further into the future. The details exactly where this cold will set up will become a little bit more clear as this is 5 days out and a little bit inaccurate. Some of these details will shift around. I just wanted to bring this to your guys' attention that a big cool down is on its way. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.